The throne. The last field answered how the one who is God could also have a God. He emptied himself into the servant's place. But Hebrews said both halves in a single breath. Your throne, O God, 1:8, and God, your God, has anointed you above your companions, 1:9, and the second half belongs to this field, the anointing, the lifting back up. So it brings its own double pressure. The texts say the Son is exalted, made Lord, given all authority, that he received dominion and sat down at the right hand. Doesn't exalted, made, given, received mean he was promoted, handed a rank he didn't have? That is the Arians' whole case. And worse, at the throne there are plainly two figures, an Ancient of Days and a Son of Man, Daniel 7, one seated, and a Lamb who approaches, Revelation 5. Doesn't two at the throne mean two gods? Two questions then, was the Son promoted, and are there two? The answers no and no by the end are in the texts themselves, but only when they are read in time. The text God has made him both Lord and Messiah, Acts 2:36. Therefore God has highly exalted him, Phil 2:9. Glorify me with the glory I had with you before the world existed, John 17:5. Sit at my right hand, Psalms 110:1. As I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne, Rev 3:21. The throne of God and of the Lamb, and his servants will worship him, Rev 22:1-3. And the vision, one like a son of man, coming with the clouds, and to him was given dominion, Dan 7:13-14. How the room reads it. The Arian reads it as promotion plainly. God made him Lord, Acts 2:36. God highly exalted him, Phil 2:9. All authority has been given to me, Matt 28:18. A being who is made Lord and given authority did not have them before. The Son is elevated, proof he is less. The Unitarian reads the exalted human Messiah raised to God's right hand, Psalms 110. Honored, seated, but not thereby made God. And both, plus the wary monotheist, look at the throne and see two, the Ancient of Days and the Son of Man, the one on the throne and the Lamb. Two figures, two thrones, Dan 7:9, thrones were placed. It is the oldest worry in this book, the one even a great rabbi stumbled into, reading Daniel's plural thrones as a second power. Take all of it seriously, the glory I had, promotion or restoration. Everything turns on one word in Philippians 2:9, therefore. He emptied himself, became obedient to death. Therefore God highly exalted him. The exaltation is the back half of the emptying, the last battle's arc, not a creature climbing to a rank, but the one who laid down his glory, being lifted back to it. And the Son says so himself, before any cross, Father, glorify me with the glory I had with you before the world existed. John 17:5. Not grant me a glory, restore me the glory I had. You cannot be restored to what you never possessed. A creature has no pre-creation glory to be given back. The language of John 17:5 is fatal to the promotion reading. The exaltation is restoration, not promotion. The glory in view, doxa, is the eternal standing with the Father, its open display lifted back up at the hour. Revelation 3:21 seals it. As I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. Two words do the work. Sat down with sharing, not instead of. The Father is not displaced, the Son is seated alongside. And I overcame. The session is the wage of a completed mission. The kenotic road walked to its end and won. He conquered death from inside the flesh. That is why the flesh was necessary at all. The Son does not rise to the throne like a promoted servant. He returns to it like a king who went out, did the impossible, and came home. Daniel 7. Handled with the discipline it demands. Now the two thrones. Here more care is needed than the text's loudest users have shown. On every side, the overeager have made this scene say more than it does. Daniel 7 punishes overreach. So read it for what it is. Daniel 7 is an apocalyptic kingdom succession vision with its own interpreter built in. The four beasts are four kings, 7:17. The little horn is a king, 7:24. The saints receive the kingdom, 7:18, 22, 27. You cannot read the beasts as symbols and then switch to a literal photograph the moment you reach the throne. Same lens, whole vision. The vision is built to answer which kingdom finally stands and who receives it, not how is God internally structured. Two things it genuinely gives, and only those are taken. 1. The everlasting kingdom handoff, dominion given, not seized, and never ending, 7:14, which is the same shape as Philippians, therefore exalted. Daniel's given dominion is the restoration, seen from the prophet's side. The cloud coming, one like a son of man, coming with the clouds, 7:13. In the Hebrew Bible, no mere creature rides the clouds, that is Yahuwah's own signature. PS 1043, Isa 19:1, Deut 33:26. So this figure wears a divine prerogative, and the plural thrones themselves, the very detail that tempts a second God reading, the vision answers on its own terms. The court sat, and the books were opened, 7:10, judgment was given to the saints, 7:22. The empty thrones most naturally seat the judging court, and the saints to whom judgment is given, not a second deity. This is the detail a great rabbi once read as, one throne for God, one for David, and was rebuked for. The chapter polices its own thrones. But notice what the chapter won't allow. The same Son of Man who receives the kingdom, verse 14, is the saints who receive the same kingdom, verse 18, 22, 27. He is their corporate head, the one who embodies the many, as Adam did, as Israel God's son did. So the Son of Man is both the people's head and clothed in what only Yahuwah does. That richness is exactly why Daniel 7 is not flattened into a father-son diagram. And here a caution cuts against every overreader. Daniel 7 is a symbolic vision, not a theophany. In a vision, God is routinely symbolized, as in Ezekiel 1 or Revelation 4:5, without anyone claiming a literal sighting of the divine essence. So the Ancient of Days may symbolize the unseen source, or God enthroned as such. The vision does not say which, and it is no license to map out persons. Daniel 7 is not a snapshot of the Godhead. It is a kingdom handed to a divine yet corporate king. Any attempt to read a Godhead diagram off this vision, from any side, strains it. That is a tension, stated and not hidden. And yet Yeshua reached straight for it at the one moment it would cost him his life. Before the high priest, you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. Mark 14:62, Daniel 7 and Psalm 110, fused in a breath. The high priest tore his robes and cried blasphemy. The claim was heard as divine. That it was divine was settled in the last field. Here it only shows where Yeshua placed himself, the enthroned cloud-coming one. The two become one, in time. Put it on a timeline, and the two at the throne stops being a head count and becomes a story. He had the glory, with the Father, before the world. John 17:5. He emptied it, the incarnation, the veil. Battle 5. He conquered from inside the flesh, the cross. He is restored, the session, sat down with my Father. Rev 3:21. The two figures approaching. The Son of Man nearing the Ancient of Days. Daniel 7. The Lamb approaching the one on the throne. Revelation 5. Are not two beings negotiating a shared rule. They are the hinge of a single plan, the emptied one being lifted home. The approach is the kenosis arc made visible. And the destination tells you so, because by the last chapter the two have become one, the throne of God and of the Lamb, singular throne, and his servants will worship him, singular him. Revelation 22:1-3. Not two thrones at the end, not two recipients of worship, one. There were never two gods. There was one God, his self-expression, and a plan unfolding in time from had to restored. Now look again. Unitarianism survives Psalm 110, an exalted human at the right hand, but strains hard at the glory I had before the world. A man has no pre-creation glory, and had sat down with my Father on his throne. A man seated on God's own throne, receiving the worship of Revelation 22. Strained. Modalism is mixed here, plainly. The approach, two figures. Daniel 7, Revelation 5 strains it. A mode does not approach itself. But the resolution, one throne, one hymn, Revelation 22 suits it. So modalism is not this field's main casualty. Its hard ground was the eternal distinction, Battle 2, not the throne's unity. Arianism, promotion breaks on John 17:5. You cannot restore to a creature a glory it never had, and therefore exalted is the wage of the emptying, not the rise of a servant. Falsified on the promotion reading. The Memra, the throne is the kenosis paid in full, had, emptied, conquered, restored. One God, one self-expression, one throne at the end. The apparent two-ness is the plan's hinge in time, not a second deity. The worship resolves to one because there was only ever one to worship. Trinitarianism reads the exaltation as the economic restoration of the eternal Son, the persons sharing one throne. Here, it and the Memra simply agree. Restoration, not promotion. One throne, not divided. The residual what stays unsolved here is the same thing every field leaves unsolved, and it is a tension, held in the open, not hidden. How the one God's self-expression is distinguishable enough to be seated with the Father, the bare mechanism of distinction within oneness. But notice the count is no longer in question. The vies is how many resolves, one throne, one hymn. Revelation 22:3, its how remains, hand over mouth. And Daniel 7 stays tagged tension the moment anyone tries to read a Godhead structure out of a kingdom succession vision. The receipt, reading, reads plainly, must interpret, tag, internal assumptions, Unitarianism, the exalted human at God's right hand, P710, pre-creation glory restored, seated on God's own throne, worshipped, Revelation 22, strained, modalism, the throne resolves to one, two figures approaching, Dan 7, Rev 5, a mode approaching itself, mixed, its hard ground was battle 2, Arianism, made Lord, exalted, given authority, is promotion, the glory I had before the world, restore not grant, therefore exalted, falsified on promotion, a creature has no glory to be restored. The Memra, had, emptied, conquered, restored, one throne, one hymn, Revelation 22. The mechanism of distinction within oneness, held, Daniel 7, not a Godhead diagram, rock solid restoration, not promotion, throne, resolves to one, Trinitarianism, the economic exaltation, the eternal Son's incarnate mission completed and restored to glory, the persons share one throne. The two figures at the throne as two persons, given, exalted, referring to the Son's humanity, not his deity, rock solid restoration, not promotion, end of section, no verdict beneath. The promotion reading fell, the two gods reading fell, not by force, but because the text ran its own clock, from the glory I had, to one throne, one hymn. What it has not yet shown is how worship itself stays single when the Son receives it, the Shema's sharpest edge. That is the next field. Keep your tally.